Are you struggling with imposter syndrome when it comes to dating and getting the attention of those pretty ladies? Do you often feel like there is a hidden agenda when a woman approaches you to chat? Now, despite the confidence that some may exude when it does come to dating, it is very common to experience a fear of being judged or that underlying feeling of not being good enough when engaging in conversation with attractive people. So, gents, we have some suggestions to help you overcome imposter syndrome and gain the confidence that you deserve. Here we go, like and subscribe. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is characterized by unwanted feelings of incompetence and self-doubt. The imposter feeling is a clash between how you see yourself and how others see you. Even though people recognize your talents, your attributes, your successes to timing and luck, you don't think you merited them, and you worry that others will eventually come to the same conclusion. As a result, you constantly worry about being exposed as a fraud. When it comes to dating, imposter syndrome may have you overthinking scenarios in your head, questioning the motives of those who want to or are dating you. You often feel like they don't really like you or that you don't deserve to be in the presence of such an amazing, beautiful person. Does it sound like you? Acknowledgement. Identifying imposter feelings and bringing them out into the light of day can accomplish several goals. By telling your peers how you are feeling, you inspire them to do the same, which makes you realize that you are not the only one who experiences these feelings. Now, you may find it useful to discuss your distress with a dependable friend or a mentor in order to gain some perspective on the circumstances. Additionally, discussing how you feel can help you better understand your emotions, allowing you to gain insight on how these thoughts might be influencing your behavior. By communicating your feelings with a trusted person, you can gain a more objective view of the situation and feel more empowered to confront any challenges that you are facing. Facts. Imposter syndrome victims frequently have emotional thoughts. They believe it must be true because they don't think they are good enough. Try to keep your attention on the facts if this describes you. Instead of worrying about not measuring up, consider what you bring to the relationship. When you start to doubt yourself or your position in the dating world, ask yourself, why would they say yes to a date if they didn't want to? Because the answer will always be they wouldn't. If a woman doesn't want to date you for whatever reason, she will not waste her time. This should give you confidence that you bring something to the table and that your potential partners really do want to be with you. Don't compare. Comparing yourself to others makes no sense, particularly if you are in a relationship where imposter syndrome is present. There will always be someone who appears to be better than you in some way, but comparing yourself to them will only make you feel inferior. Now, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and it's likely that other people notice your strengths and envy them as well. So when it comes to dating and comparison, it can start a very ugly cycle that would be very hard to get out of. There are billions of people in the world, and no two people are the same. Each woman has her own preferences when it comes to who she wants to date. So if you spend too long trying to be like, say, John from down the road, you might end up turning her off. Therefore, guys, it's best to just be yourself and accept your strengths and those weaknesses. Nobody can be perfect at everything, and that's something that everyone needs to keep in mind. Acceptance. Now, it can be challenging to accept compliments from someone if you feel like you are a fraud in your current circumstance. Take the time to accept the compliment, even if you feel you don't deserve it. The compliment is probably sincere, despite what your insecurities are trying to convince you of. Now, by accepting the compliment, you will not only make the other person feel good, but you can also start to build your own confidence. Likewise, if you're trying to figure out how to support someone suffering from imposter syndrome, make a conscious effort to compliment your partner in a sincere manner, as this will highlight their positive traits. Acknowledging the positive things in someone's life helps to provide a sense of security and assurance that even if they don't feel deserving, they are still worthy of being praised. Take a step back. Consider the negative effects imposter syndrome has on your relationship for a moment. Do you and your partner have a lot of fights? Do you emotionally distance yourself rather than letting them get close to you? Realizing that your actions have consequences may motivate you to change your way of thinking. If there are negative effects like this that you can clearly see happening in front of you, then there is something for your partner to fight for. If she didn't want to date you, there would be no negative effects because, to put it bluntly, she wouldn't care enough to create an issue. So, by understanding how your actions can have a direct and tangible effect on those closest to you, you may begin to shift your behavior and put an emphasis on developing strong relationships. Practice self-love. Imposter syndrome is fundamentally a problem with low self-confidence. You become fixated on your shortcomings in your relationship when you struggle with these emotions. So to stop this behavior, make a list of all the things you appreciate about yourself. Turn to your list for some assurance if you start to feel self-conscious. Reflect on the skills and experiences that have gotten you to where you are today. And if you make a habit of writing down at least 3 things you like about yourself, from your appearance to your personality, your habits or hobbies, your subconscious mind will begin to recognize all of these positive aspects of you, which will turn into reasons why people would want to date you. By focusing on the positive and continuously reminding yourself of your self-love, you can transform your negative self-image. Reword. You can start recognizing when these thoughts are recurring and changing them once you realize that some of your thoughts are just the product of imposter syndrome. For instance, when you begin to believe that you are unworthy of your partner, stop thinking this way and tell yourself something empowering, like, I am a faithful partner. More often than not, when dealing with imposter syndrome, it feels like you are fighting with the other half of your brain, the positive versus the negative. Now, one way to push your way through this is to ask yourself, who told me that? This means that when your intrusive thoughts tell you how bad a person you are, if you cannot pinpoint a real person who told you this, then it will be easier to decipher between intrusive thoughts and actual opinions of people. It is important to remember that the feeling of imposter syndrome is one that comes from within, and it can be difficult to separate your thoughts from other people's opinions. Forgiveness. When we make mistakes, feelings of imposter syndrome frequently creep in. Even something as simple as forgetting to take out the trash can cause you to feel as though your relationship has failed. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and that it's okay to not be perfect. Recognizing that no one is perfect and allowing yourself to be human can help you better cope with your mistakes. It won't be easy, but it will definitely be worth it. Practicing self-forgiveness can be a difficult task to take on, but it's an essential step in learning how to better manage relationships. It's difficult enough to gain confidence when you're trying to date people. Imagine how much energy it would take to fight yourself every step of the way. Taking the time to be kind to yourself and forgive yourself will benefit you in the long run. Perfection, let's talk about it. Even though you've probably heard it before, no one is perfect. When you have imposter syndrome, you put constant pressure on yourself to perform perfectly. You feel like a fraud when you unavoidably fail. Recognize that you and your significant other are learning and growing together, and let go of that need for perfection. There will be highs and lows, but you will change as a result of the relationship and grow from these mistakes. Women are not dating for the perfect man. They always look for the perfect man for them. That doesn't mean you have to copy and paste from a book or a movie. It just means that you can work with them to create a happy and healthy relationship. Accepting that nobody is perfect should relieve you a lot of built-up pressure that must be weighing you down.